On the next Woodsongs, one of the most aggressive folk singers in America, Dom Flemons, one of the founding members of Carolina Chocolate Drops.
Sweet San Francisco baby, honey, I don't care. San Francisco woman, I begin to see you everywhere.
And one of the greatest pickers of all time, Bryan Sutton.
The mountain, gonna dig right through, baby.
The television broadcast of the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour is presented in part by the Martin Guitar Company, making handcrafted guitars since 1833. Online at martinguitar.com. The Lexington Convention and Visitors Bureau, providing information to visit Lexington, Kentucky online at visitlex.com. By Folkbook, a social media site for arts and music, online at folk-book.com. And by Time Warner Cable, providing cable, telephone, and internet service.
Here on the Louisiana Hayride, his name is Hank Williams.
From the Grand Ole Opry, Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys.
Hi, this is Bruce Hornsby.
Hi, this is Kevin Moe.
Hey folks, this is Bela Fleck.
Hi folks, this is Sam Bush.
Hello, this is Odetta.
This is Joan Baez, and you're listening to the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour.
And now, gather the family around and sit back in your easy chair. It's time again for the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour, our worldwide celebration of grassroots music. Let's welcome folk singer, author, and tree hugger, Michael Jonathan.
Thank you very much. You know, old songs, folk songs, is such a beautiful thing, and a lot of the stories behind the songs make the tunes become even more important. We're going to play a song that was made famous by one of the original stars of the Grand Ole Opry. His name was Uncle Dave Macon. In the 1930s and 40s, his music would travel around the mountains from front porch to front porch. He would sit in a chair and play his open back banjo, Machine Gun Kelly fast, and he'd spin it around and hoot and holler and spit and have a grand old time. But the legendary John Hartford found that when you treated his music with a little more tenderness, they become amazingly beautiful ballads of American literature. The songs were like books. And this is one of those tunes. It was called the Sparkin' Song in the early Appalachian Mountains around the 30s and 40s. This was the tune that lovers would sing to each other on the front porches across Appalachian Mountains. Its actual title is Over the Mountain. I'm always light-hearted and easy. Not a care in this world have I, because I am loved by an Ollie, and I couldn't forget if I tried. She lives far away over the mountain, where the little birds sing on the tree, and the cabin's all covered in ivy. And Molly, she's waiting for me. And it's over the mountain, where the little birds sing on the tree, and the cabin's all covered in ivy. And Molly, she's waiting for me. Well, the day I bid goodbye to Holly, that's a day I will never forget. For the tears bubbled up from their slumber, and I fancy I see them yet. Well, they look like the pearls on the ocean as she wept her tales of love. And she said, my dear boy, don't forget me till we meet here again or above. And it's over the mountain where the little birds sing on the tree. And the cabin's all covered in ivy. And Molly, she's waiting for me. Yes, it's over the mountain where the little birds sing on the tree. And the cabin's all covered in ivy. And my Ollie, she's waiting for me. And welcome to the historic Lyric Theater here in our hometown of Lexington, Kentucky. We're broadcasting from the crossroads of America's folk and bluegrass music, the gateway city to the beautiful Appalachian Mountains, where so much art and music comes from. And we do celebrate the wonderful world of folk music on this show. And what do we mean by that? It's folk, it's blues, bluegrass, country, Celtic, old-timey, new singers, songwriters, this wonderful, beautiful gem of grassroots music. Artists come from all over the world to be on our stage. You don't have to be famous to be on Woodsongs. You just have to be very, very good. We've got two artists that are absolutely amazing. Both are Grammy winners. Both are outstanding in their fields. The first artist that we're going to introduce is a 6-time IBMA Guitar Player of the Year. He's a Grammy Award winner. He's one of the most sought-after guitar players, session players out of Nashville. He's got a solo career as well as everything else that he's doing, and a brand new album called Into My Own. This is a song off that album called Cricket on the Hearth. Please welcome the amazing Bryan Sutton to the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour. Song is Cricket on the Hearth from his new album, Into My Own. Grammy Award winner Bryan Sutton, welcome to the show. It's nice to have
Michael,
you here.
Thanks, so good to be here. Nice
You started learning your chops. You grew up in North Carolina. A lot of music out there.
Yeah, I grew up, you were talking about the Appalachian Mountains a minute ago. I grew up in the southern Appalachians, just west of Asheville, North Carolina, and near the line of Buncombe County and Haywood County in a little town called Candler.
So who were you listening to as a young fellow? 7, 8 years old, you started picking up the guitar, learning your chords. Right. Who was inspiring you back then?
Well, I was so fortunate to grow up in an area of the country where there was such great local musicians, and there was a community of music. We had the obvious guys like Doc Watson and Tony Rice on the radio and on my record player, but I was able to go out and jam with any number of local great fiddlers, guitar players, banjo players, singers, just a combination of all that kind of helped form what my goals would be and my sense of myself as a musician.
Well, this was happening when you were still very young. You were 10, 12, 14, 16 years old. You're doing all this.
Yeah, I was brought up in a musical family. My dad's a guitar player, banjo player. My grandfather was an old-time fiddler. His uncles and my grandmother's uncles were all fiddlers, banjo players, and so, just one of those musical families.
Well, you certainly have taken the 6-string guitar pretty far. I mean, people breathe your name in the same sentence of Tony Rice, Clarence White, Merle Travis, and stuff. You've really achieved a certain 6-string stardom. You eventually joined Ricky Skaggs Kentucky Thunder.
Sure.
That's being in great company.
Yeah, I was, it was one of the fortunate things that sort of come along my way. I was friends with the bass player in that band, and the spot came open at a, important time in his career, and obviously an important time in my career. It was when Ricky was making this return back to bluegrass music after this great country career, and so I was really fortunate to be on that first Bluegrass Rules record.
And while you're doing that and you're touring, I mean, Ricky tours all over the world. You're in front of these fanatical audiences that love music, and you're being exposed as an artist through Ricky's career, which is that's how it works.
Yeah, right.
And then you decided to, I'm not going to say step back, but change direction. You became one of the major session players out of Nashville. You came off the road and you started focusing on a studio career.
Right. One of my goals when I made the initial move to Nashville is to always pursue the session career. I've always been a guy that didn't want to be on the road all the time. And when I was in high school even, I had a desire to do that. I would look at guys like Jerry Douglas and Stuart Duncan and Sam Bush and say, I want to do what those guys do. I would see them on great records. I would see them on great shows. And I knew that there was a balance to be had between those two outlets. And so as Ricky's career took off, I noticed that I still wanted to do these sessions, and so it came to that tough decision that a lot of musicians go through when you're in a great road gig, but you want to do these sessions, and so you make a decision to get off the road and pursue the sessions. I was also having kids, and I got married too. That helps.
It's called responsibility.
Oh yeah, there's that.
See, now with Ricky, you had this regular paycheck. We're not going to talk money here. We're talking situation.
Right.
And to change directions, I mean, there was a lot of competition in guitar world in the session work in Nashville. You had guys like Mark Cass-Stevens and Brent Mason, Jeff White, and a bunch of other guys that were really lionizing a lot of those sessions. So how did you break in?
Well, it's funny that a lot of young players come to Nashville and ask me that, and there's not a blueprint or a how-to manual to be a session player. You really have got to sort of try to figure out what it is that you do that may be different, and then learn sort of good skills. Like what I tell people, it's not necessarily about getting the call; it's about getting called back. And so just learning, good responsible work ethic and, going the extra mile, realizing that there's a balance in, the higher paying gigs that you do and also being available for, lower budget things. And sometimes I work for free just because I love the music. And, again, just sort of trying to strike a balance with the whole sort of scene there. So I feel like that kind of energy helped me, just sort of Nashville's all about connections. And so I really, when I moved there, I knew about 2 people. And just as one session led to another, which led to another, which led to another, just sort of got on a track with certain producers. There's a lot of that in Nashville too, sort of like you get into a class that sort of moves up. One of the main producers that I work with these days was a guy that was pitching songs for a publishing company, 10 years ago, and now he's producing major records. And so I've worked with him from day one. And artists are that way too.
Well, I'm going to brag on you a little bit because I know it's hard for folks to brag on themselves, but he has worked, Bryan Sutton has worked with Keith Urban, Dolly Parton, Taylor Swift, Harry Connick Jr. He's been on the road with the Dixie Chicks, Jerry Douglas, Sam Bush, Bela Fleck, Hot Rise. You're still a member of Hot Rise officially, right? Mm-hmm. Chris Thiele, Tony Rice. I mean, you have just expanded your career. Then you become the artist, which is a whole nother bag.
Yeah, I can't get comfortable.
I mean, your name on the album, you're responsible for everything. It's not the other guy's problem, it's now your problem as the solo artist.
Yeah, it's a curious balance again. I've always wanted to stay inspired. It hit me about 4 or 5 years ago that I was in a comfortable spot, and I'd reached a lot of goals that I'd set for myself of making great music with great people. And just always underneath that just felt like, wow, I'd really love to do this. I really love to sing. I don't do it a whole lot. I sang when I was a kid with my family, and I just felt like I didn't want to get any older and wish that I'd done what I'm doing right now with this record here, and with these guys on stage and doing these kind of gigs where I am able to go out and play my original music and sing and all this kind of good stuff.
Well, you do have some great players playing with you today. We're going to meet them in the second half hour. Let's get back into your brand new solo album. It's called Into My Own. This is a tune off that album called That's Where I Belong. It is Bryan Sutton on the Woodsongs, Old Time Radio.
Place where I don't have to worry, and that's where I belong. Show me a place where I don't have to hurry, and that's where I belong. And give me the time so I can change my mind, and it won't matter if I'm wrong. Show me a place where I don't have to worry, that's where I belong. Place where I don't have to worry, and that's where I belong. Show me a place where I don't have to hurry, and that's where I belong. And give me the time so I can change my mind, and it won't matter if I'm wrong. Show me a place where I don't have to worry, that's where I belong. And give me the time so I can change my mind, and it won't matter if I'm wrong. Show me a place where I don't have to worry, and that's where I belong. And that's where I belong.
Six-time IBMA Guitar Player of the Year, Bryan Sutton, from his new CD, Into My Own. If you want to know more about Bryan Sutton, how to make this new album part of your home music collection, all you have to do is visit our website, woodsongs.com. If you click on the archive page, this is show number 767. We'll tell you everything you need to know about Bryan Sutton, as well as our next artist. He's one of the founding members of the Carolina Chocolate Drops. He's now doing a solo career, and he's also got a brand new album out called Prospect Hill. This is a tune called Have I Stayed Away Too Long? Please welcome the amazing Dom Flemons to the Woodsongs Old Time Radio.
Thanks for having me. Have I stayed away too long? Have I stayed away too long? Now if I came home tonight, would you still be my darling? Oh, if I stayed away too long. You know love like a poor child get grown. You know love like a poor child get grown. Now if I came home tonight, would your little light be shining? Oh, if I stayed away too long. Long distance out of town, called me to worry that maybe I don't wanna hurry back. Now I just stay out of town, worry you no more. I know you found someone else to make you care. Now all my dreams have gone wrong. My beautiful dream have gone wrong. Now if I came home tonight, would you still be my darling? Oh, if I stayed away too long. Long distance out of town, call me to worry that, honey, I'm knocking at your door. Now I just stay out of town, worry you no more. I know you found someone else to make you care. Now all my dreams have gone wrong. My beautiful dream have gone wrong. Now if I came home tonight, would you still be my darling? Oh, if I stayed away too long.
From his new CD, Prospect Hill, Dom Flemons, and thank you, Guy, for coming out to the show. You're a hard traveling man.
Oh, I try my best, Michael. You know, I've been traveling since 2005. You know, you know, I went to the Black Banjo Gathering out in North Carolina. I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona, and it was right around when I finished college that I started playing music and formed the group, the Carolina Chocolate Drops, with Rhiannon and Justin.
Well, that was such a seminal band. Before that, though, while you were in Arizona, I mean, you were watching a public television documentary.
That's right.
About music, and there was a segment on there about folk music, and that kind of lit a fire under you.
That's right. It was a one on the history of rock and roll, and amongst one of the episodes, they talked about the folk revival, and that got me interested in the Newport Folk Festival. So I started looking up different records, LPs of the Newport Folk Festival, Bob Dylan, Phil Oakes. I got to see Dave Van Ronk when I was about 18, and there were just a lot of different people I was interested in, and it just kind of expanded from there. When I went to North Carolina, I got a whole vision of being able to play in the South and learn a lot of the music and the culture around here in the Southeast.
Well, you even tried to turn Phoenix into sort of a mini Greenwich Village there for a while.
I tried. It's so hot there, though. I tried to busk, and I just would sink into my chair and then all the way ooze onto the ground.
Yeah, I would bet that was hard on the instrument, too. When listening to you perform, though, I mean, there's a little bit of Robert Johnson, there's a little bit of Lightning Hopkins, there's a little bit of Blind Willie McTell. I mean, you've really absorbed a lot of these folk influences.
Oh, absolutely.
So that became a passion for you.
Oh, definitely. You know, and when I found that there was a need for to
present and play the different styles of music, I decided, at first I wrote all of my songs, but then I decided to put that down for a while and just really focus on styles. I got into Mike Seeger's music. I got into even like choreometrics and cantometrics. Alan Lomax is a academic sort of folk analysis of the world's music, and I just started thinking about music in a bunch of different ways while doing the Chocolate Drops. So I've taken all those experiences and I have it on this new record now.
Now, your move to North Carolina, though, that was by design.
Yes, that was by design. After the Black Banjo Gathering, I was about...
Well, let's say what the Black Banjo Gathering was, which is a great concept, yeah.
Well, you know, a fellow named Sule Greg Wilson introduced me to this event that happened in 2005, and it was like an academic event on the black and African roots of the banjo, because a lot of people at that time really didn't know that the banjo was derived from African instruments and then came over here. And then through like the Great Migration, and then there was a lot of baggage that was placed on the banjo over many, many years. And so the black community moved away from that, and it remained in the white community. So that's what most people, even me, I thought it was a white instrument for years.
Well, originally it was the instrument of the slaves as
That's
they came
right.
over with their gourd banjos,
That's
right? But like you said, it became it smacked of a cliche among the black culture, so they left it behind. So that makes you one of the very, very few black banjo players in North America.
Oh, well, you know, I try my best. There's a few of us, and that was what the Black Banjo Gathering itself was about, was getting people together.
Bring them together, right?
Yeah, bringing the academic people who had researched all this old history, and then bringing contemporary black string band players that were interested in that history as well, trying to bring them all together into one room, and it was a heck of an event, if you can.
I bet it was. We're going to talk more about this in the second half hour. Right now, you've got your banjo in your hand. We're getting back into this wonderful new album that he's got called Prospect Hill. This is a tune called Till the Seas Run Dry. It's the wonderful Dom Flemons on the Woodsongs Old Time Radio.
Scapiti pati, ba la da 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 pa 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 pa, ska la da da pa 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 pa. Oh yeah.
Grammy Award-winning Dom Flemons is on the broadcast with songs from his new album, Prospect Hill. We've also got 6-time IBMA Guitar Player of the Year, Bryan Sutton here. We're going to meet his band in the second half hour. We're going to talk more with Dom. Stay right where you are. A lot more music and conversation coming up right after this.
Hi, this is Tommy Emmanuel, and you are exploring the world of grassroots music with folk singer Michael Jonathan on the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour.
And thank you, Tommy Emmanuel. There is a fine guitar picker. And welcome, everybody, to our broadcast coming from our hometown of Lexington, Kentucky. Here we are at the Lyric Theater, the beautiful Lyric Theater. Isn't this a wonderful place for us to be doing our show? So comfortable and nice, and it sounds great. We are broadcasting on over 500 radio stations around the world. Plus, we're on American Forces Radio Network, where it puts our show in 173 countries around the world, plus every U.S. military base, every single U.S. naval ship, every Coast Guard vessel at sea, all over the world. And we do want to say hello to all the men and women out there that are tuning in. And you get to hear this guitar player with this wonderful band from his CD, Into My Own. This is a tune called Swannona Tunnel. This is Bryan Sutton on the Woodsongs, Old Time Radio.
Trains gotta run from Rowan County. The lands run dry, baby, the lands run dry. How you gonna get that line over the mountain? Gonna dig right through, baby, gonna dig right through. The Asheville Junction, the Swannanoa Tunnel, all caved in, baby, all caved in. I'm going back to the Swannanoa Tunnel. That's my home, baby, that's my home. When you hear that watchdog howling, another man's round, baby, another man's round. But when you hear that hoot owl squalling, another man's gone, baby, another man's gone. And the Asheville Junction, the Swannanoa Tunnel, all caved in, baby, all caved in. I'm going back to the Swannanoa Tunnel. That's my home, baby, that's my home. Well, this old hammer, it rings like silver, and it shines like gold, baby, it shines like gold. Throw this hammer in the Swannanoa River, it'll ring right on, baby, it'll ring right on. And the Asheville Junction, the Swannanoa Tunnel, all caved in, baby, all caved in. I'm going back to the Swannanoa Tunnel. That's my home, baby, that's my home. When you hear that mountain blowing, another man's gone, baby, another man's gone. When you hear that mountain crying, the train rolls on, baby, the train rolls on. And the Asheville Junction, the Swannanoa Tunnel, all caved in, baby, all caved in. I'm going back to the Swannanoa Tunnel. That's my home, baby, that's my home.
Swannanoa Tunnel, one of the great songs off of Into My Own, a brand new CD by Bryan Sutton. So, Bryan, you end up winning Grammy Awards, and you became one of the guys that when you were 8, you were trying to listen to.
Yeah,
you
right.
became one of those guys.
Yeah.
So that must feel amazing sometimes.
It's kind of weird, you know, there's sort of different levels of just getting older and having people come up to you and say, hey, I've listened to you since I was a kid. And it's like, that's what I'm supposed to say. Those kind of things. But also just sort of feeling the, you know, the responsibility of, you know, of passing things on and perpetuating things, just like Dom's talking about with, you know, the tradition that he's interested in. I feel a similar thing with flat picking the guitar, and I feel a similar thing with the music of Western North Carolina, and that song we just did came from Baskin Lamar Lunsford, great champion of that tradition of Western North Carolina. And so, you know, as you get older and you, like I said earlier, start reaching goals and seeing these things happen, you start to feel like, well, what is my role all here, and how can I, you know, achieve that, you know, as best I can as well.
All right. Well, I mean, and your song, while you were playing that song, I was thinking of things like the Swannanoa Gathering that
right.
has, you know, they teach people how to play the fiddle, and they have all great players like yourself come in for a week to just teach people to do things. So it's a great region, musical region.
Yeah. One of the greatest things about bluegrass, old-time music, string band music, is the fact that you don't need, you know, amps, lights, electricity, that you can really sit around a living room or a front porch or a campfire and just play and sing. And that still remains one of the biggest sort of connecting things about that sort of tradition. And you can just pass it on.
Let's imagine for a moment that you're sitting on your front porch. It's the sun's going down, and it's a Bryan Sutton and a 6-string guitar on the porch swing, and you decide to play something. What would you play just by yourself, alone on the front porch?
Probably something a little more introspective, but yet maybe somewhat groovy.
Buy a ticket to that front porch. So you know, 3 chords in the truth. You're trying to get those runs. How do you get clean? How do you attack that string
right.
with the pick? And
it's a great question. I know you're not asking me that for, you know, any sort of me selling anything, but I do spend a lot of energy teaching this kind of guitar playing. And there's, for a lot of folks listening that do have a hobby of, you know, as a guitar player, or maybe also have a hobby as a golfer. You know, weekend golfers are a lot like, you know, weekend guitar pickers who go out and spend some money on a nice set of clubs or a nice set of strings and a guitar, and you know, you go to your local jam session and you learn a lot of songs, but there's always these fundamentals that are important. This style of guitar playing is fairly athletic, you know, when it comes to the sort of clean waterfall Doc Watson kind of sound that we all love, all that sort of space between the notes, the roll and that sort of settled groove of that kind of sound. You know, a lot of people just sort of bypass that, you know, in a very human kind of natural way. But I'm a big champion of the idea of learning to think about tone, think about rhythm, think about those things first. You know, the speed and the flash and a lot of the cleanliness and the fanciness and the embellishment kind of come later.
What's a simple exercise that they could do? Just a very simple hand exercise on the fretboard that they could do?
Right. Well, one of the things I teach is a little etude that sort of just gets the pick moving, and it also changes strings. Starts with this. And the goal is to try to make that musical, not really mechanical, but try to feel a vibrato. Get a little pulse going.
I can hear guitar cases all over the world slamming shut and being hurled into the closet.
I really encourage folks to have a lot of patience with this. And again, one of the things I also love to talk about with folks is just get to a point where you can really love the tone of your guitar. You know, try to realize that first, because that's ultimately what you're going to come back to. You mentioned like what I like to do on my front porch or my sunroom when I'm playing, and it's really that. I love the sound of these guitars, just like folks love certain colors and painting and certain styles of painting. I just love the lush sort of, you know. This is the way you can sort of manipulate.
Well, you do have a beautiful sounding Martin guitar.
That helps.
Can't go wrong with a Martin. You're here with an amazing band, Casey Campbell on mandolin, Sam Grisman on bass, Mike Barrett playing amazing fiddle. It's a great band, this wonderful CD. Just visit woodsongs.com. Click on the archive page. This is show number 767. We'll let you know everything you need to know about Bryan Sutton, as well as our next artist, who's also a Grammy Award winner, founding member of the Carolina Chocolate Drops. His new CD is called Prospect Hill. Please welcome him back. It's Dom Flemons on the Woodsongs, Old Time Radio.
Don't need no cup of coffee in the morning. I can get up fine. I can get up fine. Delia is a pretty girl, but she ain't mine. But she ain't mine. Take a little trip to the station. I'm bound to go. I'm bound to go. When I'll see my lover again, I do not know. I do not know. Too long, too long I've been gone. Four white walls and a worried mind, that's all I have. That's all. That's all. And when I need someone to talk to, I just say, hello wall. Too long, too long I've been gone. Four winds blow the breeze, wipe my tears away. They say you're fine, you're fine. And when the world seems so far away, I've got nothing left except my mind. Too long, too long I've been gone. Too long, too long I've been gone.
Too long I've been gone. Dom Flemons from his new CD, Prospect Hill. Dom, you were with one of the major roots bands in the world, the Carolina Chocolate Drops, and you decided to completely change course and do a solo career. That must have been a scary moment.
Yes.
To jump that battleship.
Oh yes, oh yes. It was really yeah. I'm still going through it right now, getting this new album out. But in the group I was in the Carolina Chocolate Drops, started the group up 9 years ago, 2005, and we covered so many of our goals within that time that it was just time. It was just one of these things where I just need to break out on my own. I had played solo for about 6 years before ever starting the group, and then also I did performance poetry for several years in the interim there, and so I just
yeah. I mean, you have a quite a literary background as a folk singer.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually what got me started. Once I was in folk singing, I studied Chaucer, Shakespeare, Wordsworth, Blake, all the great poets and early storytellers, and yeah.
So you could have been a major writer. Instead, you decided to make tens and tens of dollars as a folk singer instead.
Well, I got no discipline, so it made it okay.
So one of the nice things that the Carolina Chocolate Drops, we talked about this in the first half hour, and you and I were talking about this at length backstage before the show. You were reintroducing to the black culture an instrument that once belonged to them, the banjo and this old-time music. What happened that separated those instruments and that music from the black culture? Why did it get so... it became worlds apart. You wouldn't see... It became a white process. It became a white instrument, a white form of music, when actually it belonged to the black culture.
Well, it's an instinct sort of thing. We have several hundreds of years that where a lot of stuff happened. So first, the roots of the banjo came from Africa and were brought over with slavery. That's already one thing. Then after about 100 years of it being in the black community, it became popular in the white community through the blackface minstrel show. And that was the really big way that it spread around the United States. And so that was another thing that happened. And then the Great Migration happened where black culture as an idea became urban, and they left the idea of country behind. And that's the thing I found more so than anything else, was people left the idea of country behind. And so now we don't really have a context for black culture in the country in general. Like if you go on TV, no matter how poor or rich people are, they're always in the city. And that's something that I think subconsciously has just stayed with us for years and years. And also, country music's based on nostalgia. And in the black community, nostalgia gets a little bit funny after a while. You know, you get back a little bit, and then it's not looking so hot, you know. And that's something I think is a constant thing that's kept the banjo away from the black community. That was what was important about the chocolate drops. We were able to have young black people that were educated talking about this history, and it was really something that was empowering to the people even more so than what we knew on stage.
Well, you were pioneering the reintroduction of something that belonged to them. You were pioneering that effort. And as a solo artist, you still are. That's still a big thing. I mean, I like what you put in the liner notes of your album, and I have to say, he actually put out his CD as an album. It's a big vinyl thing with a hole in it.
Something for people to sink their teeth into, you know.
But you have this great comment that you think this is the year of the folk singer. I mean, You're taking this effort very, very seriously.
Absolutely. I mean, it was the morning we recorded that album, Guy Davis, who's featured on the album, he came down from visiting Pete in his last hours, and so Pete Seeger passed away the night before we started. So that was already something heavy happening there. And over this year particularly, a lot of the icons that we as American culture have used for years, and they've been our own sort of like gods of music, they're starting to pass away. A generation is going out, and there's a new generation coming in. And I found in the folk community, we were at the Folk Alliance together this year, and it was... there was a lot of the community that was just trying to figure out, okay, now we've all jumped up a status point because Pete was kind of the top of the heap, and now all of us have stepped up a status point. What do we do now? And that's where the idea of the Year of the Folk Singer happened. I first thought, like, well, that's a little crazy. I'm not going to put that out there. But then once Pete passed away, it became a definite thing that I said, yeah, the folk singers need to step up again. And, of course, like yourself, you've been fighting the good fight for years and years, and it's something that I want to put out there.
Well, you need a good instrument to fight the fight. Pete Seeger, of course, had his long neck banjo. You're holding a banjo that, my friend, looks like a cartoon of a banjo. It's got this. It looks like a kick drum head on a neck, but it's a banjo, right? So what is this thing?
Well, this is the biggest 6-string banjo I've ever come across.
That's like, what, an 18 or 20-inch head?
Yep, that's an 18-inch pot on this banjo here.
Normally banjos are like 11, maybe 12 if they're big. This thing is like...
And then there's even a picture of a fellow Papa Charlie Jackson, who was one of the most well-known 6-string players, and he even had one that was 2 inches smaller than this one. See, I was even at the shop I bought it in, and I'm like, this is so much like the Papa Charlie banjo. This has got to be the Papa Charlie banjo.
I'm sorry, this is an ego thing. You got to have the biggest head in the room. That's totally an ego thing.
I mean, I may call this one Big Head just for that there.
Well, let's listen to the sound of this thing. It's from his new album called Prospect Hill. This is San Francisco baby Don Flemons and his big banjo on the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour.
All right, show him what you can do, Big Head.
sweet San Francisco, baby, honey, I don't care. San Francisco woman, I began to see you everywhere. Now I was walking down the street, I sort of caught your eye. Fool on me, it's someone else in disguise. Walking through the park, I thought I saw your smile. Fool on me, this feeling's mighty vile, but sweet San Francisco, baby, we met on a summer spree. San Francisco woman, oh yes, I do decree. Now I was walking down Lombard, a crooked mile. Try as I might, I couldn't crack a smile. I threw up my hands and I left it to fate. It brought me sweet you, shine like the Golden Gate. But sweet San Francisco, baby, what else you got to say? San Francisco woman, don't leave me here by the bay. 'Cause you's 3 times 10, so I know you're ready to go. Let's jump in the wagon, go down to Mexico. We'll bump our heads and it'll make us laugh, and then we'll buy up the whole town for $1.50. But sweet San Francisco, baby, oh, San Francisco, babe, I mean San Francisco, babe. Skeep, scope, skeedly-doo, scoodaloo-beep-bop-bee, happy-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-deep, skip-do-dee-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-dee. Beep-on-dee-dee-do, skip-bee-dee-lo, ba-boo-bee-dee-do-do-do, skip-dum-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da- Oh, San Francisco, baby. Yes, babe, I mean San Francisco, babe. Sweet San Francisco, baby. We met on a summer spree. San Francisco woman, oh yes, I do decree. Now I was walking down Lombard, a crooked mile. Try as I might, I couldn't crack a smile. I threw up my hands and I left it to fate. It brought me sweet you, shine like the Golden Gate. But sweet San Francisco, baby, what else you got to say? San Francisco woman, oh, don't leave me here by the bay. 'Cause you's 3 times 10, so I know you're ready to go. Let's jump in the wagon, go down to Mexico. I'll bump our heads and it'll make us laugh. And then we'll buy up the whole town for $1.50. But sweet San Francisco, baby, oh, San Francisco, babe, I mean San Francisco, babe, oh yes. San Francisco, babe, I mean San Francisco, babe.
Thank you.
Wasn't it great having Dom Flemons, Grammy Award winner, and the wonderful Bryan Sutton, what an amazing musician, guitar player. Bryan Sutton and his band. You know, both of these artists came from a reliable way of life. Bryan Sutton was with Ricky Skaggs and Kentucky Thunder, and he became one of the most sought-after session players in Nashville, regular gigs, and going solo is such a scary thing when you become at risk by trying to go out on your own. Dom Flemons did the same thing. He was with one of the Roots supergroups, Carolina Chocolate Drops, and he left that to pursue a solo career in order to reach out and use the music the way he, as an artist, saw fit. It's a frightening thing to be an artist sometimes. And you know, John F. Kennedy said something that I think is very appropriate. He said, if art is to nourish the roots of our culture, society must set the artist free to follow his vision wherever it takes him. Bryan Sutton is following his vision. Dom Flemons is following his vision. What good is the freedom to follow unless you're using the freedom for something good? Isn't it wonderful that we live in a culture that you can be that free? My name is Michael Jonathan. I'm a folk singer. I'm a log cabin dweller, and we'll see you next week on the Woodsongs Old Time Radio. Good night.
You've been listening to Woodsongs broadcast number 767. Michael's opening song was Over the Mountain from the Woodsongs CD, featuring Melissa Deaton, Jonathan on vocals, Isaac May on mandolin, and Ruth McLean on upright bass.
Thank you for tuning in. There are so many talented artists that appear on our stage. It's very hard sometimes to pick the ones that appear on our TV broadcast. So what we're going to do is leave you with a performance from our huge online archive of past shows. We'll see you next time on the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour. Let's turn things over. It's 14 years old. Julian Davis from Pittsburgh, Kansas is going to play Freeboard Man on the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour.
I was born in the Southland, 20 odd years ago. I left home for the very first time when I was just 4 years old. I'm a freeborn man, and my home is on my back. I know every inch of highway, every foot of back roads in the bottom railroad tracks. Gotta get to Cincinnati, got one at San Antonio.
Closed captioning provided by the Deering Banjo Company. The television broadcast of the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour is presented in part by the Martin Guitar Company, making handcrafted guitars since 1833. Online at martinguitar.com. The Lexington Convention and Visitors Bureau, providing information to visit Lexington, Kentucky online at visitlex.com. By Folkbook, a social media site for arts and music, online at folk-book.com. And by Time Warner Cable, providing cable, telephone, and internet service.